In this video, we are going to create an EKS cluster. As in the free version, if you try to create the cluster manually from EC2 instances, it will cause performance problems and configuration problems. We are going to create a cluster using Amazon's Elastic Kubernetes service. First, go to EKS service and create add cluster. A name is given to the cluster here. Default Kubernetes version is kept there. After that, select the cluster role that you created earlier by adding Amazon cluster policies. The same default VPC is kept here as well. In subnets, I remove RDS subnets like this. The default is added in security groups. In addition, I also add the security group related to the MySQL server. For cluster endpoint access, I give the public option and do next. I don't add add-ons here and leave the default things and do next. After that, when the cluster is created in the last step, it will take some time to form. After creating the cluster in this way, it can be seen in the cluster tab. By clicking on the cluster, we can see the details. We are now going to go to the details and add node groups to the cluster. That means for now there is only the control pane. Let's go to the compute tab in cluster details and add node groups. As before, you need to give a name to the node group and add IAM role. Currently, I have not created an IAM role, so let's create an IAM role first. Then click the Create Role button. I set the trusted entity type as default and select the option called EKS node group as the service. As permission policies, I add the EKS CNI policy, the EKS worker node policy, and the EC2 container full access policy in this way. This is how all the added policies are displayed. I couldn't give a name to the role here, so I give it a name and create the role. Here is the worker node role that we adopted with the relevant policies. Now let's select the role we created for the node group we created earlier. Let's click Next here. There we select Amazon Linux 2 as the worker node AMI type and select T2 medium as the instance type. Because if we install Spinnaker, we need at least 4 CPUs. Let's say that the desired size, minimum size and the maximum size of the node group scaling are 3. Now the others are set to default and click Next. Let's select subnets from here. The subnets we previously selected for the cluster have been auto-selected. Here we have to turn on the Configure Remote Access to Nodes option. Because the EC2 instance we created needs worker node access, I will give the key pair of my newly created EKS cluster as the new key pair. Here in the security groups, we select the same security groups that we added earlier. Select the security group used for cluster and the security group used for MySQL. Click Next again and create from here. After a while, this cluster will be formed and finished.